Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News channel. And because we have had technical problems for the past couple of nights coming back on live, I am going to immediately go to a live feed source and check in with the chat before we even begin tonight's broadcast to make sure that we are actually firing on all cylinders. And let me know in the chat, can you hear me? Are we live? Just checking in with everybody. Yeah, I hear the audio there myself, so I know that we have audio. So we're in good shape. And tonight we have a lot of updating to do, because it was, I think, really truly a weekend of evil. Brown University shooting, the Bondi Beach massacre, and the murder of the Reiners, and the strange and unusual circumstances surrounding the Reiners' deaths. We'll bring you up to date on all that, including as well news stories about Doug Ford in Niagara Falls and his plans to turn that into the Las Vegas of the North, and Pierre Poilievre really confirming a lot of what I've been telling you for about the past, certainly in the past 2 days, and even before then, and really confirming what I've been saying about Mark Carney for all you haters out there. So stay with me. There's a lot to unpack tonight. We'll get started on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So it has been, or was, a weekend of, as I say, violence. And I would say, depending on how you define it, pure evil. An evil weekend filled with violence and death. Today, though, the FBI announced they have foiled a plot, a terrorist plot out in California. And it does tie into what we went through over the weekend. They have arrested suspects in a major terror plot, they say, out in Los Angeles. Now, this is not live, but there was a news conference held earlier today. So I want to bring some of that to you because this is a major story. And if all the facts are as presented, you have to take your hat off to the investigators who put this whole thing together. And we'll pick it up here from the beginning, or near the beginning. Here we go. All right. So yeah, this is the FBI newser about the terror plot out in California that they say they were able to stop.
Okay, I think we have everybody. Good morning, everyone. My name is Akil Davis, Assistant Director in Charge of FBI Los Angeles. I'm going to announce our speakers in order. It will be First Assistant United States Attorney Bill Asaley, myself, then Chief of Police Jim McDonald, Sheriff Robert Luna, and then Chief of Police for Palm Springs Police Department. So without further, I'm going to turn over to the United States Attorney.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Asaley. I'm the head of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. Over the weekend, my office, along with the FBI, arrested members of a far-left, anti-government domestic terror cell who self-identify as the Turtle Island Liberation Front. The individuals were arrested on Friday, December 12th, when the group attempted to construct and detonate IEDs out in the desert. In addition to the arrests, we executed several search warrants throughout the nation. I want to thank our partners at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Louisiana, U.S. Attorney Zach Keller, and the U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Lee Foley, for providing valuable assistance over the weekend with a very complex and coordinated search warrants that were done. The charges we are announcing today stem from the defendants and their co-conspirators' detailed, coordinated plot to bomb multiple U.S. companies on New Year's Eve. Thankfully, that plot has now been foiled thanks to the hard work of the FBI and the Department of Justice. This investigation was initiated in part due to the September 2025 executive order signed by President Trump to root out left-wing domestic terror organizations in our country, such as Antifa and other radical groups like the Turtle Island Liberation Front. As the president made clear, recent attacks across the country have highlighted the grave threats posed by these far-left domestic terror groups. These threats are sophisticated, organized campaigns of targeted intimidation, radicalization, threats, and violence designed to silence opposing speech, limit political activity, and direct policy outcomes, and prevent the proper functioning of a democratic society. In direct response to the President's order, the Attorney General issued a memo to our offices implementing and mobilizing federal law enforcement to prioritize and counter domestic terrorism and political violence investigations. As a result of those directives, we built this case. Both my office and the FBI have invested substantial resources into investigating and charging these organizations. And if anyone does not believe that members of these groups are organized, sophisticated, and extremely violent, let me tell you about the plot in this case. The four defendants are Audrey Carroll, 30 years old. The pictures, I think we have them somewhere. We'll put them up here. Audrey Carroll, 30 years old. Zachary Aaron Page, 32. Dante Gaffield, 24. And Tina Lay, 41. Each from the Los Angeles area. Each is charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device in violation of Title 26, United States Code Section 5861D. We intend to file additional charges in the coming weeks as we finish reviewing the evidence. The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which according to their own social media is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for their associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. One of the leaders of the organization, defendant Audrey Carroll, helped organize an even more radical faction of the group called the Order of the Black Lotus. Each of the defendants charged today was also a member of the Order of the Black Lotus. Carroll described this group to her co-conspirators as everything radical. As detailed in the federal complaint, which we will now make public, in November 2025, defendant Carroll created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on this upcoming New Year's Eve. Carroll and her co-defendant, Zachary Page, led the effort to obtain and build the bombs and to recruit others to join in their plot. Carroll's bomb plot was explicit. It included a step-by-step instructions to build IEDs or improvised explosive devices and listed multiple targets across Orange County and Los Angeles. Carroll also made clear her desires. She said, quote, "What we are doing will be considered a terrorist act." Carroll and Page also discussed plans for follow-up attacks after their bombings, which included plans to target ICE agents and vehicles with pipe bombs. Carroll stated that those plans would, quote, "take some of them out and scare the rest." Throughout early December, the co-conspirators discussed their plans during an in-person meeting in Los Angeles and through an encrypted messaging application. As part of the plan, the 4 defendants plan to build test bombs in the Mojave Desert. You're going to hear more details about the bombs they intended to build and how the operation went down in the desert here shortly from the FBI Assistant Director in charge. In preparation for the plan, the co-conspirators purchased multiple pieces of bomb-making materials and discussed their travel plans to the desert. Last Friday, December 12th, the defendants took a significant step to carry out their plans. They traveled to the remote campsite, which you're going to see some video of, in the desert, and they began unloading their bomb-making materials to assemble and test the bombs. They had everything they needed to make an operational bomb at that location, and they were subsequently arrested by the FBI before they could build a functional explosive device. Shortly after
I just want to pause for a moment and just so the FBI is saying this is a far left organization, terror organization, but are you cluing in to just even the name, Turtle Island Liberation Front? So this Turtle Island is the way some native groups describe essentially North America, Central America, even part of Central America, it's South America, depending on how they draw their map. And there are images out there of this, and we've touched on this because we have advocates, activists who are pursuing the unification or the takeover, essentially, of North America as all of Turtle Island and putting it under First Nations or Native control. These groups are not just in the U.S., and I'm not saying they're all affiliated, but certainly we're seeing these groups involved with some aspects of, even in Canada, the freedom movement, the sovereign citizens movement on both sides of the Canada-U.S. border as well. And I expect probably It stretches down into Mexico as well. And so we've had some discussions about all of this here on the program. And some of it seems legitimate. Some of it seems extreme. It depends on who it's coming from. And this, I would say, is clearly an organization, a group, an activist group that has been radicalized. Let's let the FBI news conference rule here a little bit more, but just keep that in mind as we're listening to this. This is not a movement that is isolated just to the United States. I'm not sure that it's even accurate to call them a left-wing group, because a lot of the people involved in this kind of activism, you could say that they're aligned with people on the left. Certainly they are socialistic, but they are in many respects National Socialists, if you really look at the ideology behind it. And so they actually combine elements of fascism, socialism, communism, anti-capitalism into this kind of political activism. It is not easy to describe, and it's probably an oversimplification for these investigators to just describe the organization that they're talking about as simply far left.
Defendants were taken into custody. The FBI executed multiple search warrants, including at the defendant's Southern California residence and other locations throughout the country. I'll highlight some of the items found during those searches over the weekend. For example, in Carroll's residence, law enforcement found multiple posters and materials associated with Turtle Island Liberation Front, including posters stating, quote, "Death to America, long live Turtle Island and Palestine," and, quote, "Death to ICE, Turtle Island Liberation Front." In Page's residence, law enforcement found a copy of the detailed bomb attack plan. This case is another reminder about the dangers that radicalized Antifa-like groups pose to public safety and the rule of law.
See, because a lot of these people do align themselves with the left, or, and he touched on it right there, the pro-Palestine movement. Because what we've seen, especially since the October 7th attack and then everything that came after, we have seen in North America and in other parts around the world, comparisons and even conflation between the occupation, as they put it, of Gaza and the occupation of North America by settlers taking the land from First Nations or Native groups, both in Canada, the United States, all across North America, Central America, and even down into South America. And that is not just a left thing, it's a right-wing thing. It is about land back, reconciliation, UNDRIP, all of these things. And it's playing out here in real time in a very extreme way just before the holidays, because what weaves into that? Religion, Christmas, Christianity, anti-Christian. A lot of Native groups very upset with the Catholic Church, Christianity in general, Western society, capitalism.
Through the tireless work of our prosecutors in my office and our law enforcement partners, which you will hear from today, we disrupted this terror plot before buildings were demolished or innocent people were killed. But this is not the end of our work. My office is committed to extinguishing the far-left terror threats that we face, and will continue to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The 4 defendants arrested will make their initial appearance this afternoon at the federal court in downtown Los Angeles. They are each considered innocent until proven guilty. I will now turn it over to the Assistant Director in Charge of the FBI LA office, Akil Davis.
So here we are, all these years, after all these years have gone by, and all of this conflict continues over the land over Christopher Columbus.
Good morning. Again, my name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Division. As we're all aware, we've had a busy weekend in this country and abroad with bad news incidents one after another. Today, we are announcing a major victory in our collective effort to protect the American people. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force intercepted a scheme by members of a violent extremist group we believed determined to detonate explosives at multiple businesses on New Year's Eve. Last Friday, the FBI arrested 4 of those subjects near 29 Palms in San Bernardino County while they planned and rehearsed their attack. The 4 subjects are members of a radical faction of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF, a violent, homegrown anti-government group. The subject arrested envisioned planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be detonated at multiple locations in Southern California, targeting U.S. companies. These bombs were to blow up at the same time on midnight this New Year's Eve. The plan stated that the IEDs would be complex pipe bombs. It included instructions on how to manufacture the bombs and contained guidance on how to avoid leaving evidence behind that could be traced back to them. Our investigation uncovered evidence in that the group would test the explosives in the desert. And we're going to show footage of that here in a second. We learned that
And I think you're going to be surprised when I show you the pictures, or when they do, of the suspects.
the alleged co-conspirators had recently started acquiring precursor chemicals and other items necessary to accomplish this task. In recent days, the alleged co-conspirators discussed plans to travel to the desert on the 12th to detonate the explosives. Knowing this, the FBI's JTTF and the FBI Los Angeles field office staged multiple SWAT teams, special agent bomb technicians, our evidence response team, along with the FBI's elite hostage rescue team in the desert to disrupt this plan before any harm could occur. Because of this, we were able to disrupt their plan. All 4 group members were taken into custody without incident. The TILF Instagram account publicly posts content that advocates for violence against United States officials. A recent post called for a revolution and asked for supporters to organize and be ready. The FBI, as you have seen here, can also organize and be ready. We could not have accomplished these arrests without the exceptional assistance from our partners on the Joint Terrorism Task Force. I specifically want to thank the following agencies, as you see up here today: the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Palm Springs Police Department, along with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. I also want to recognize the following FBI field offices as this investigation crossed the entire country: the New Orleans Division, the Buffalo Division, Indianapolis Division, and the Boston Division, who, as you all know, have had their hands full this weekend. In fact, an additional was arrest by our partners at FBI New Orleans in support of this investigation. I will now turn it over to the Los Angeles Police Chief, Jim McDonald.
Well, thank you, and good morning, and we appreciate you being here today. Los Angeles Police Department is proud to stand alongside our federal, state, and local partners today to announce the arrest stemming from a coordinated domestic terror plot. The case underscores the persistent threat posed by extremist groups and individuals, as well as the critical need for law enforcement agencies to remain vigilant in protecting our communities. The successful disruption of this plot is a powerful testament to the strength of our unified response, driven by the collaboration and tireless efforts of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, along with our allied agencies. Together, we have prevented a potential tragedy and reaffirmed our shared commitment to safeguarding our communities. I want to personally thank the dedicated men and women from every agency involved. Their relentless work over the past several days has ensured that those responsible were apprehended swiftly and safely and without harm to our neighborhoods. Thank you. I'm going to call up Sheriff of Los Angeles County, Robert Luna.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here to cover this, what I believe is a very, very important story for our community. This successful operation was a result of quick, proactive, investigative work, and I want to emphasize strong collaboration. And ADIC Akil Davis mentioned it and gave credit to all the law enforcement here in Southern California. It is better here, it always has been, than anywhere else in the country, and we're very proud to be part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. For us at the Sheriff's Department, we've been part of it since after 9/11. Their ability to share intelligence across multiple agencies, investigating threats like this one, is second to none anywhere else. The way we coordinate with partner agencies and act quickly was critical to the success of this operation. And like I said before, there's no other area like here in LA County with our partnership that has been here for years with the FBI and LAPD and the other law enforcement agencies around us. Since this threat was uncovered last week, our Sheriff's Task Force officers and intelligence analysts working closely with our law enforcement partners have been working around the clock to verify information, identify targets, and piece together this plot that you've heard described. Their strong investigative efforts, sharp situational awareness, and rapid response ensured that this threat was stopped before it ever had a chance to be carried out. I'm incredibly proud of the professionalism and dedication shown by the men and women who worked tirelessly to bring this threat to an end before it could cause harm to anybody in our community. To our community, I know hearing about these incidents like this can be unsettling, especially in the light of the recent Brown University mass shooting and the Sydney, Australia terrorist attack. But today serves as a powerful reminder that strong collaboration between federal, state, and local law enforcement can prevent violence before it occurs. As we enter the holiday season, a time when families and friends come together across traditions, cultures, and beliefs, this incident is a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and to be prepared at all times. Vigils whose goal is to divide us, to instill fear, and to target the very diversity that makes our country strong. I want to be very clear, what you see here, this investigative work and the follow-up that's been done shows that they will not succeed. Our community's diversity is our strength, and protecting every member of our community is our primary duty. Whether you are celebrating Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's, or simply gathering with loved ones, you deserve to feel safe. We are committed to ensuring that safety today and every day. We remain dedicated to protecting our entire community through ongoing intelligence gathering and threat assessments, strengthening partnerships across all of our agencies, engaging with the public to promote awareness, vigilance, and resilience. And finally, I encourage everyone to stay alert, trust your instincts, and report suspicious activity. And as we always say in law enforcement, if you see something, read something, or say something, your awareness, your eyes, and ears can help us protect the entire community as we did in this incident. I will now introduce the police chief of the Palm Springs Police Department, Andy Mills.
Well, good morning, and first of all, thank you so much, Assistant Director Davis, for the spectacular job that the FBI did on this case. We were just in a very supportive role only, making sure that the FBI had what they needed in the desert to execute their mission. But on a larger perspective, I just want our community to know that this gives me hope. It gives me hope because of the unified effort of all of law enforcement, from the Sheriff's Office to LAPD, San Bernardino Sheriffs, and the FBI, working together to make sure that people like this are removed from the community so they can be prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office, to make sure that all of us can live in peace. And this is what our mission is to make sure that there's hope in all of our communities. So thank you very much for the spectacular job that the A-team showed up and did.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that obviously there's some disagreements amongst our agencies over things like immigration enforcement. But when it comes to other areas of law enforcement where it matters to keep the public safe, whether that's protecting the girls on Figueroa Street or the Palm Springs investigation, there is no gap in the cooperation between the federal government and local government. And we do thank the sheriff, the police chiefs for your valuable assistance. It would be very difficult for us to do a lot of what we do without their assistance. So I do want to thank you, each and every one of you. With that, we'll open it up to a few questions. Oh, we're going to play the video. All right, play the video. And this is, the video is, do you want to describe the video?
Yeah, I'll describe the video. So, as I mentioned in my talking points, on December 12th, a group of individuals, again, members of this anti-government group, traveled out to the desert to test their explosive devices. They had precursor chemicals there, and they were going to create these bombs in the desert. What they are starting to do is put their chemicals and wares and the components out on the table there. This footage that you're watching is from our surveillance plane, and then what happened after this is the Los Angeles FBI SWAT team, along with the FBI's hostage rescue team, moved in and arrested all 4 subjects without incident.
So now we'll take some questions. Yeah, we're not naming the victim companies, but I'll generally describe them as logistics centers. You can think of like Amazon-type logistics centers, but we're not naming the specific companies at this time.
Can you elaborate on the locations?
There were at least 5 locations that they intended to target within Orange County and Los Angeles County. Again, we're not giving out the specific sites, but they were willing and wanting to do more if they could recruit more members to their radical efforts there.
You mentioned the arrest in New Orleans. Do you guys think that there are other people involved? And you mentioned some other locations.
There are definitely more members to this group. As far as who was specifically involved in this New Year's Eve terror plot, we believe we've arrested all the members who were specifically involved in that particular plot. We did execute search warrants to people who are also part of this group. As we review that evidence, if we determine that there are any other individuals who knew about this or provided any assistance, we will obviously be charging them as well. Person arrested in Louisiana is not directly tied to this incident, but he is a member of this group. And when they executed the search warrant out there, he posed a great threat to the agents. He threatened the agents, and so that's why he's under arrest.
Do you believe what would have happened on New Year's Eve, or do you think there could be others that are still planning to go forward with something?
Well, obviously, the FBI has a very robust national security investigators. They look out for domestic terrorism as well as international terrorism. Do you want to talk more about your activities with the Joint Terrorism Task Force?
So this investigation is ongoing, as the United States just stated. Members of this group or associates of this group or any collaborators in this group, we are looking at as a result of this investigation. To answer your question, we do believe that we have disrupted this plot for New Year's Eve, but like I said, the investigation is ongoing.
As far as we're always looking. We're always looking for other people who might be plotting or doing this. And let this be a warning. If you can avoid being detected by the FBI or the federal government, if you think you're going to be able to design one of these plots, think again. We have very sophisticated, experienced agents, and we will find you, and we will infiltrate you, and we will arrest you, as we did with this group. They didn't see it coming, and each and every one of them is right now in custody. So we're very proud of the work done by the agents. Yes, any other questions?
The names are done, the operations are done. What's the relationship? The name of the operation.
Yeah, just the name.
It's just a name.
Looks like one of the names is missing.
Okay, we're going to move over here and take a look directly at the FBI release. And there it is on the screen. 4 defendants arrested for alleged anti-capitalist and anti-government plot to bomb U.S. companies on New Year's Eve. Corporations. 4 members of an anti-capitalist, anti-government group that calls for violence against U.S. officials have been arrested for allegedly plotting to attack 2 U.S. companies with improvised explosive devices this New Year's Eve. The Turtle Island Liberation Front, far-left pro-Palestine, anti-government, and anti-capitalist group, was preparing to conduct a series of bombings against multiple targets in California beginning on New Year's Eve. The group also planned to target ICE agents and vehicles, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. This was an incredible effort by our U.S. attorney's offices and the FBI to ensure Americans can live in peace. We will continue to pursue these terror groups and bring them to justice. Yeah. I wonder how deep they'll really dig. How far does this really go? It goes pretty deep, I think. The tentacles, I think they extend out to each side of the political spectrum, honestly. Certainly we're seeing it in Canada. But these guys, and I said maybe you won't be surprised when I show you the pictures of the suspects. Here, let me bring it up. Turtle Island Liberation Front, TILF, social media accounts had previously posted threats of violence in various social media posts over the past few months. According to social media posts talking about their social media posts. And we have pictures of their social media posts reinforcing what the FBI is talking about. Death to ICE. Yeah, you should really be careful what you post online, as I've told people. Even if you don't mean it, they're going to think you mean it. Do you think they mean it? Middle finger might give you an indication whether they mean it or not. Death to ICE. And there you go. Do many of those look like Native Americans? Not really. Or First Nations people, as we say here in Canada. They look like university kids. Maybe university dropouts, or maybe just university kids who are perpetual students attending classes on mommy and daddy's dime. I don't know. Maybe. Antifa types? Yeah, they probably could be. But I see this element on the far right as well. They blend in. They're out there. They're among us. All through. They're everywhere. Ten. Are these the actual suspects, though? Maybe not. Here's who shot up the Texas ICE facility. Yeah, these are not the same people. So that's a little misleading. Where are the pictures? Here we go. These are the ones we want. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong thing up. 4 identified as Department of Justice as the FBI members. Here you go. Still, same thing. This is what I'm getting at. I didn't think that was the right thing. Okay, so yeah, this is what we've got. Operation Verdant Force. So Audrey Carroll, there she is. Black Moon. They could be First Nations, some of them, or Native, but I don't think Tina Chen Ting Lai, aka Kickware, or Dante Anthony Gatfield, also known as Nomad or Cedar, is likely part of a Native group legitimately in the U.S. or anywhere on Turtle Island. Who's the second one there? 4 linked to radical pro-Palestinian group planning mayhem. Yeah, because we've seen that, haven't we? At these protests, the pro-Palestinian protests. And I think Ian is in the chat, and I think he'll confirm this for us because he has in the past. He's shown us. Even Johnny out of Toronto with his video showed us at these pro-Palestinian protests the support, the integration even of, in Canada, First Nations peoples supporting the pro-Palestinian movement. And a lot of these people, part of the, the Turtle Island, the people who want to see the reunification of Turtle Island. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Turtle Island? I'll bring up the picture. We've shown you this before because we've had conversations with interviews with people involved in these efforts to recreate or create Turtle Island, I guess you could say. So here's what Turtle Island is supposed to look like. There are a few variations on the way it's supposed to look, but right here, Turtle Island, a creation story. There it is. See? Maybe I can get you a better look. Right there. You can buy this for $14.95 and put it on your wall. IndigenousReflections.ca. I've got this poster you can buy of a turtle. And it explains what Turtle Island is. Let's see if we can bring it up a little closer. It says, long ago, Mother Earth was covered in water and was home to the swimmers and the winged ones. Creator knew that soon the four-legged, the crawlers, and the two-legged, that's us human beings, would be joining them. Creator also knew the land would be needed for all our relations to live together. The swimmers and the winged ones offered their help to dive into the water to find soil for Creator to create land. Loon was the first to try diving into the water to bring back. This is the mysticism, the history, the stories handed down generation to generation. It was the turtle who offered to carry the soil. The soil was then placed on Turtle's back, and Creator blew gently over it. The soil grew into mountains, valleys, forests, rivers, and more. The swimmers and the winged ones welcomed the four-legged, the crawlers, and the two-legged. We give thanks to Turtle who carries our home, which we know and call Turtle Island. Well, it's a beautiful story. But don't let that radicalize you. And be careful what you post on social media, lest you be arrested.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Bondi Beach, Brown University, and the Reiners. Very disturbing story with movie director, actor, celebrity Rob Reiner. He and his wife both murdered, and now we're seeing that his son has been arrested, and CNN, other media outlets, just updating the story within the past, even a few minutes, confirming that authorities are saying that Nick Reiner, their son, is responsible for their deaths. Let me show you what the headlines are at this hour. And here you go. Rob and Michelle Reiner's son responsible for their deaths, police say. And there's a picture of his son, Nick. And yeah, very disturbing indeed.
As well, the LAPD confirming that Nick Reiner is in jail on suspicion of murdering his father, legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner, and his mother as well, Michelle.
The couple were found dead in their home on Sunday. Nick Reiner is being held on $4 million bail. CNN's Stephanie Elam is in Los Angeles. Stephanie, what do we know about Nick Reiner's relationship with his parents and just sort of his history in general?
Well, Brianna and Boris, it's important to note that Nick Reiner has had his own struggles throughout the years. In fact, he's talked openly about his addiction issues that he's had. And in 2015, he co-wrote a screenplay, Being Charlie, which his father directed, that was based in part on his drug addiction journey. And through part of that conversation, you know, the Reiners were very open about it and saying that they fought at times, but it made for a better film. So we are learning little details more about their relationship there and what happened here, transpired here in the Reiner compound here in this Brentwood part of Los Angeles.
So, you know, if you go scrolling through social media tonight, it's on fire over this. And why wouldn't it be, especially after you have the President of the United States inserting himself into the discussion, generating a whole other level of debate because of his controversial statement on Truth Social. Look at what he posts. Now keep in mind, this is the President of the United States. And again, what are we seeing here? Are we seeing someone who is choosing his words carefully? Maybe. You might argue that it's sloppy, but maybe he's intentionally trying to get people fired up. Maybe he just doesn't care. I don't think he cares. Ultimately, he tempers it a little bit by saying it's a sad thing, but then listen to this whole statement. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy, all caps, by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. And so somehow, President Trump has made this all about himself. And I wouldn't say they're very comforting words, and it's certainly no olive branch to the other side of the political spectrum. And here he is really blaming Rob Reiner's death and the death of Rob Reiner's wife on Rob Reiner's politics. So, social media is on fire. Let's do a Twitter scroll. I'll show you. There we go. Even this time, you even have some pretty solid MAGA types, either just ducking and covering to avoid the fallout from this, or they're even, carefully and softly pulling support on this particular post from the president. Let's scroll down. Rob Reiner stabbed to death in Brentwood home. So that's listed as news. Kyle Becker posts, just in, Hollywood director Rob Reiner's wife were reportedly killed by their son, Nick Reiner. I didn't care for his politics, but this is a terrible tragedy and didn't deserve that. See, that's not so hard to say, Democrats. Keep going, though. CEO branding expert posts, Rob Reiner had a daughter who adored him and a son he never gave up on. This isn't a moment to cast stones, because there are some on the right who are, well, let's just say they're less than sympathetic tonight to the deaths of Rob Reiner and his wife. Instead, it's a time to remind us, he goes on here and says, that even well-intentioned parents can't always save a child in crisis. He fought for Nick's recovery. He supported him, loved him, but sometimes love isn't enough to stop what's broken. And it's obvious, and it has been well known for some time, that Nick Reiner had substance abuse problems and maybe even behavioral problems, mental health issues. It says Romy is living proof of the love and values Reiner instilled, a creative force with her own voice and grace, someone who hasn't used the last name to get ahead. This tragic death isn't about parental failure. Please don't make it such. It's about the mental health crisis facing America. It's about the depth of a father's effort and the limits of what even fame and money can overcome. We never know what people are struggling with when the camera is off. Does this moment remind you of how fragile life can be? Pray for Romy and the rest of their family. A little more about Romy Reiner. She seems like a beautiful soul, now experiencing an unimaginable tragedy. Let's click on that. This is his daughter. And yeah, I have seen posts of Rob Reiner with his daughter. And it's clear that they got along well. Not so much with Nick. If you scroll, if you go online, you will find posts where he appears in interviews. Nick Reiner appears in interviews with his father, and he was involved in a project. But in the interviews, he seems off to me. Always did. He doesn't seem warm toward his father at all. He seems distanced. His words are not entirely out of place, but they don't seem to fall. How can I describe it? Nick Reiner's words, they just didn't seem to ever fall appropriately. The tone of what he would say in these high-profile interviews when he would sit there with his father. New York Post saying Nick Reiner had a reputation for violence and had always been troubled before he allegedly slaughtered Dad Rob and Mom Michelle. And that's what he looks like now. Some people are posting this other photo of him that's about 10 years old. So some people are saying, don't let that provide your reference for what he currently looks like. It was that picture that I just showed you. That's the more recent photo that's circulating online now. Travis Smiley on Threads. Rob Reiner reached out and asked to come on my show with his Nick in 2016 to talk about the coming of age story, Being Charlie, a film based loosely on Nick's real life struggle. This is the project I referred to with drug addiction and acceptance. What a real world tragedy this has become. Prayers up. There he is in the photos from these interviews that he did back then. Just couldn't seem to get it together. I wonder if we can find the clip here on the fly. One of these interviews. It's telling. Here we go. This is Reiner with his daughter. You can feel the warmth you know, like, when I'm getting along well with my kids, you'll feel the warmth. When we're not, you don't. And I'm sure that any parent can relate to that. But watch this interview here, or this video. There's verbal jousting going on.
So I wanted to ask you something, because my career hasn't even remotely taken off, as you know, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, I was just thinking about it, and I was wondering, I think the thing that could actually make me more unique and marketable is if I got a BBL. Would you be interested and okay with paying for that?
What's a BBL?
It's a Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, Brazilian butt lift.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I could really, like, people would take me a lot more seriously if I had that. And
Really? You think that will make them people take you more seriously, or they'll just say, boy, your ass is big?
I think both. I think they'll say, wow, look at her craft and like all the work she's done as an actor, and
Look
her
at her,
ass
and
is-
look at her crack.
Exactly.
Her craft and her crack.
So, right. So it's kind of expensive, and I don't think insurance, covers it, because
Yeah, I doubt
it's
it
not a
would.
medical issue.
I doubt it would cover. How much do you think it would cost?
I don't know. I have to look into it, but I was just, I don't know, man. I'm really struggling, and
Well, listen here. I mean, I would say don't do it, but my feeling is it's your.
I'm chuckling. It's so sad. So sad. And I loved a lot of these movies that Reiner was involved with. Princess Bride. Here's video of Reiner with his son. Let's bring it back up on screen. This is a clip I've not seen. And here we go. But I'll just about guarantee you'll feel the tension between the two of them.
Because the film focuses on stand-up comedy to some extent, who are some of your favorite comics in the game right now? And for Nick, only because you were talking about these WWE-styled microphones, who's your favorite wrestler? If you say Roddy Piper and Macho Man Randy Savage, we got to be friends, man.
Don't say those.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
I used to love Rey Mysterio as a kid.
Yeah, that
Rob Van Dam.
Rob Van Dam, the Frog Splash, and Rey Mysterio used to do that. What was it? The 609. You go
619.
619. You would go through the ropes and.
Hey, Rob, how do you know that?
Because the boys, my two boys, Nick and his older brother Jake, they used to love wrestling, and they would wrestle with each other. We brought them a mat so that they could wrestle, and I took them to some of the WWE events. They got to get on, on the stage.
I didn't.
No, you didn't.
It was Jake.
No, but what wasn't that guy with the? No, the guy with the broke the.
It was Jake.
And what did you do?
Some of our favorite comics are.
Okay, comics. No, but you were there. You got to meet.
I wasn't there at that one.
Not that one, but who did we meet?
I was the
Trish
one.
Stratus.
Yeah.
You met Trish Stratus, didn't you? And the Big Show. Did you meet the Big Show?
Met the Big Show.
All right, so you were there, or just that one time he wasn't. Okay.
That was a great scene, guys.
Yeah. And what about your favorite comic?
Louis C.K. Hands down.
Yeah. I'd say hands down, probably right now. He's the.
Did you guys see Horace and Pete?
That was okay. I'm going to scroll a little further for you. He just, yeah. And it was public, right? Everybody knew that he was troubled. Here's another clip of the two of them. I haven't seen this one either, so let's just assess this. Here we go. So this is again going on with this film project that was based on his life. And the script, as I understand it, was, and I haven't seen the movie, but the script was based on, or the whole project came about because Nick met somebody when he was in rehab, and this other person was in the film industry as well, and they came up with this idea for a project. I think originally for a TV series, and then I think it morphed into this idea for a film.
Reveal that stuff for you? That would seem to be hard for me.
It's not hard to reveal that stuff. It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told you're a spoiled white rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
Well,
but
who would say that to you? Not your dad.
No,
the
but
world.
the world, Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, how did you handle that?
Well, I mean,
obviously you didn't go to drugs, but you must have had those issues. Your father's an icon.
In the 60s, there was plenty of drugs around.
Yeah.
But you just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise. And it's hard for him because this is the first time he's, all of a sudden there's a lot of attention. People are talking, and he has the double whammy. He's got me and he got his grandfather, and they're going to say whatever the heck they want, but they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
Yeah.
They don't know why he's done what he does, and and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything. People have their own issues.
Human beings
regardless.
are complicated, messed up.
And also, it's like the Kardashians can go shopping and complain about how there's no air conditioning in the fucking store, and no one bashes them.
Yeah.
It's like I wrote a movie about doing drugs and having a hard time, and people still,
People
they
have
a
really
field
said
day.
stuff about that.
Oh yes,
That's
absolutely.
insane to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
this
you
is-
have to keep yourself focused and know
Whatever.
what you do. Know what you do. This is what we set out to do.
Right.
And I told him, while we were making the movie, I said, I don't care what happens. I don't care if, they don't even see the movie. Nobody wants to. I said, we're winning. We are winning.
Yeah.
Because we're throwing ourselves into our work.
Yeah.
And good things are coming out of it.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it can help some people, because we've been on some shows. We were on a show the other day on NPR where people were calling in and were saying thank you so much for sharing your story, and they were telling us about what they were going through. And so if you can be helpful in that way, then that's good.
Is it just me, or I'm going to look in the chat? Do you feel the tension between the two? It doesn't feel warm. I've seen other clips where he was out promoting that film, where Nick Reiner says that he didn't make the film because he actually wanted to share a story so he could help other people. That was sort of a secondary or tertiary consideration when he was writing the story of the script for it. He said, well, if that happens, that's fine. But it would seem like it was more of a project for his own therapeutic purposes. And I suspect that his dad sort of nudged him along with it. I get the feeling that Rob Reiner was pretty hard on his son at times. I just get that sense, but that's just based on fatherly instincts, I guess. Let's look in Cindy says the son looks so off. The Lovely says the kid looked like he was smirking. Yeah, it felt tense, Jubilee. It does to me too. And Rose Mary Mack says, read many times Rob had a bad temper. Yeah, I see that. I see that potentially there too. And hello, Vicky. Good evening to you too. And yes, Cindy, it is sad. Yeah. Cindy says, great memories. My dad's laughing was amazing. He was kind, of the silent type. He loved that show though. Yeah. Reiner was a household name for a long time. Really rose to fame in the 70s with All in the Family, playing the meathead. Yeah, there it is there. Cindy says, I love Rob and All in the Family. So sad. Yeah. Poor daughter. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Drugs, mental illness. Terrible. The costs to society, the devastation to families. This is why I'm so opposed to even the liberalization or legalization of, I'm sorry, but marijuana laws too. And as far as I am concerned, you can draw a direct line, a direct timeline back to the proliferation of these tent cities, to Justin Trudeau coming into office in Canada and the legalization of marijuana. And not just that, but also the sort of the pivot through the state sponsored media narrative that has been promoting other kinds of drug use. If you listen, I've noticed it most prominently on CBC radio, where I've listened to many programs during the afternoons, talk shows, long form documentaries, even, or documentary style reports, long form, and even call-in shows talking about, the benefits of certain kinds of drugs, which it normalizes it, it promotes it, honestly. And we've seen increased use of not just marijuana, but hallucinogens, and you combine that with what's going on in social media, and I think it's a psychological powder keg that is beginning to explode. Well, probably began to explode several years ago. It has really reached a fever pitch now. Not that it's all because of the drugs, but I think it's a contributing factor. In my opinion. Not cool with it at all. And all of this stuff in Trump's post, it's even having an impact on us politically. Steve Bannon going on about it tonight, or was going on about it through the day today. Do I have his clip? Candace Owens. There are many issues that are fracturing the MAGA base. Yeah, many of them. Here's Laura Ingraham. Let's see what she says. A lot of these guys are, as I say, are ducking and covering because of the controversial post from Donald Trump tonight. And Reiner, certainly opposed to MAGA, opposed to Trump, viewed very much, and I think he, a left wing, or at least a pro-Democrat, socialist kind of guy, liberal.
Oh, our next guest is an actor and a brilliant director, having made such classics as, and I know he's so sick of hearing this, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, my favorite of
obviously
all
an old
time.
post
This
from
is
Laura
Spinal Tap.
Ingraham.
The list goes on and on and on. Reiner is also so extremely outspoken on politics. Tonight he joins me on set for a little conversation, a little back and forth. Hey, Rob, how are you?
Nice to see you. Nice to be here. We did. We ran into each other at a restaurant last night, and now we're talking
See?
here.
It's good. Yeah. It's purple territory. We have some purple territory. I'm all about purple.
We should have negotiated this thing, and maybe we wouldn't have a government shutdown.
Yeah, last night the first thing Reiner says
is, talking.
Are they going to shut the government down? I'm like, well, I'm here in L.A. I want to talk about Hollywood stuff. And he wants to talk about politics. Yeah. You started this committee with David Frum, as an old friend of mine. About investigating the whole Russia connection.
Right,
and,
right.
I first read about it.
Yeah, this was something back in, 2017, that he put together with David Frum that really rubbed Trump the wrong way.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I kind of laugh. I'm like, what the heck is he, a Hollywood guy? And then the guy who writes for The Atlantic. They're going to do what, like 20 lawyers in Washington with an unlimited budget can't do? Explain that whole thing.
Well, first of all, we have a really good advisory board. James Clapper and Michael Hayden, Mike Morrell.
Big fans of Trump, all those.
You know, and John Brennan has now been involved. Yeah. So we've got some, pretty knowledgeable people in the intelligence community. And the reason I started it is because, I just felt that the public was not really understanding the gravity of what has happened. And warfare has changed. We have this cyber war now, which you can't feel. If we had been attacked, let's say, the buildings get knocked down or a bomb blows up in New York City, everybody says, "Oh, we gotta do something."
Well, why just Russia and why not China too? I mean, they took 50 million of our personnel files, including mine.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of cyber.
Why focus on Russia? Why not China?
Because that was the most recent and very effective. Very effective in what they were able to pull off. And it's nothing new. I mean,
what do you mean when they pull off? Because there's no proof that they changed the outcome of the election.
Well, I don't know.
Hillary didn't lose because of Russia.
No, I'm not suggesting they did or not. I don't know about that. What I do know is that they were able to have thousands of trolls and bots and go through Facebook and take out ads. And every campaign, Republican, Democrat, you put out your propaganda. You always do. If paid ads on television weren't good, you wouldn't see people do it.
That doesn't mean Trump colluded with Russia. Russia's really good at what it's doing.
I didn't say they did. I'm not talking about that because whether or not there was coordination between Trump and the Russians. That's for Mueller and the congressional investigations to determine.
Right.
That's not what this is about. This is about being attacked in a new way of warfare and whether or not we're going to be up to the task. I think we fell asleep after the Soviets collapsed in the Cold War.
Were you worried about the Soviets back then? I mean, I was in college at Dartmouth.
Well,
and I don't remember Hollywood rallying to Ronald Reagan or the Soviet Union. I remember the opposite actually happening.
But before that, I'm way older than you, and we had to hide under desks.
Yeah, but you weren't supporting Reagan, right? You couldn't stand Reagan back in the 80s.
No, I wasn't a supporter of Reagan.
But he took on the Russians. You're taking on the Russians, so you're like a modern-day Reagan now. You're taking on the Russians, like Reagan took on the Russians when it was actually mutually assured destruction. Now we're beyond mutually assured destruction. Still not great, but Russia's economy is smaller than France's.
Yes, it is. But here's what is smart about Putin. We basically beat them during the Cold War.
And he wants Mother Russia back. Yeah. We know this movie.
No,
we know how it ends.
Wait. But they spent themselves into oblivion trying to keep.
Because of Reagan. Yeah.
Well, because of a lot of people,
strength,
a lot of different presidents helped to do that. But Putin figured out for $500 million, very inexpensive thing, I can weaponize cyber war. And what people have to understand, the capacity that cyber war, not just invading an election, there's blowing up.
I got you, but look at what Putin did during Obama. I want to get to the fun stuff in a moment.
This isn't the fun stuff?
For me, talking about the other stuff is fun, and you talk about politics. Isn't that funny? We're like on each other's topics.
Yeah.
But, Putin did pretty well in the Obama years. I mean, he went into Crimea, obviously, the Ukraine. He obviously grew his popularity at home. So the idea that, like, Trump would be some, nirvana for Putin, I never really did get that because he did really well in the Obama-Clinton era. They didn't do the reset. The reset failed. So there's so much. Let's go on to another.
But Obama did, whether or not you think they were effective, did have sanctions after they invaded Crimea. There's been a lot of talk of removing those sanctions. We had sanctions passed by 98-2 in the Senate and virtually everybody in the House.
Russia. It's like the Brady Bunch. Marsha. Russia. I mean, at some point this becomes comical, right? It becomes funnier than the stuff you produce, which is my favorite. Just a favorite. Are you worried that some of this?
You don't care about this stuff.
I do care about it, but I think that you're going down the wrong rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole. But let's talk about what politics does to art. Okay. Politics and art, they've always had a connection. Obviously, there's always been a connection, and the conservatives in Hollywood, the ones that will actually rear their heads, say that there's a blacklist in Hollywood, that if you express support for Trump, basically it's like what Harvey Weinstein did.
Yeah,
the people who went, they don't work.
I don't know that there's a blacklist, but I can tell you that the vast majority of artists, directors, writers, actors are liberal. There's no question about that. And there's a reason for that, because a liberal have a very big view of things. You know, this is what I've said. I said this to Bill Clinton in the Oval Office. I said, you know the difference between Republicans and Democrats? Republicans know they're right. Democrats entertain the possibility that they might be wrong. And that's the big difference. And that's why you see liberals drawn to the arts, because it's more of an open-minded kind of thing. And I'm open-minded. Look, I came on your show.
I love it. This is what it should be about. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, are you...
Okay, so enough for now. The politics is thick. We have other news to cover, so let's move on. I'll be back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Just before we move on to the next story, there is this aspect to the Reiner's deaths that is important. Here's there are reports that Rob Reiner got into a big fight with Nick at a Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's, and we've got a clip on that.
Corporate cousins at TMZ are reporting that Rob and Michelle Reiner, along with their son Nick, attended a holiday party at the home of Conan O'Brien on Saturday night, and that the three of them were heard arguing very loudly. Now, if that plays in any way to the tragic events that unfolded here on Sunday afternoon, we do not know at this point. We hope that we will hear more from the Los Angeles Police Department later today. Sandra?
Wow. Jonathan Hunt with the very latest on all of that for us. Thank you.
So back to the Bondi Beach story. So much coming out of all of that. There's still a ton of material. Yes, Australia's prime minister is saying the terror attack suspects were motivated by Islamic State ideology. That's the most recent info we're getting. The death toll now up, I believe, 16. 27 in hospitals after this mass shooting. Father and son apparently responsible. And it has been declared a terrorist incident targeting Jewish Australians. It is the worst mass shooting in, at least 3 decades in Australia. And the victims, aged between 10 and 87, including a Holocaust survivor, 2 rabbis. Now, there was this bystander who is being hailed as a hero who tackled the gunman from behind. We showed you the video yesterday. 2 gunmen, one a 50-year-old and his son, 24-year-old, identified as the father, Sajid Akram, and the son, 24-year-old Naveed Akram, born in Australia. And he's in custody. The father killed at the scene. Investigators and the Prime Minister of Australia saying they were driven by extreme ideology and were interviewed by security services back in 2019, but weren't part of a wider cell, according to investigators. And of course, the gun debate is now raging, certainly in Australia, to some degree, even in the United States tonight, as a result of the horrific attack. Let's bring up this. Here we go. One moment while we get this video queued for you. And here we go. One moment. Here we go.
Is pushing for tougher gun laws after the deadly shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach. At least 15 people were killed and dozens injured in what authorities are calling a terror attack targeting Jewish people celebrating the start of Hanukkah. Police say the gunmen were a father and son. The father was shot and killed by authorities at the scene. The son is in the hospital in critical but stable condition. Officials say the younger suspect was previously on the radar of authorities, but he wasn't deemed a threat. He's now expected to face charges. Here's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese talking about the need for gun reform in Australia.
We'll put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used or licensed by individuals. A review of licences over a period of time. People's circumstances change. People can be radicalised over a period of time. Licences should not be in perpetuity. And checks, of course, making sure that those checks and balances are in place as well.
Now, yesterday we showed you the video of the one gunman being tackled by the bystander, who, it turns out, is Muslim, which I think a lot of people were not, I was not aware of it initially. But this was a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach. And this was a vendor who was on site. And here's the video again. And I draw this to your attention because, you know, we're all being tested right now. We have been tested, especially since the beginning of the pandemic, on many levels. And I'll tie that together after we watch this video again.
Oh!
And so he does not shoot this guy, even though he takes the gun away from him. The guy falls to the ground, about 10, maybe 15, 20 feet away now. He's retreating, backing away. Okay. Now, I wanted to comment more on this tonight because last night, well, first of all, I should preface this by saying we've seen a lot of calls from people, especially yesterday, saying that the bystander who took the weapon away should have shot the suspect. And there was a person in our chat last night who was calling for just that, and went beyond that to suggest that, as I reviewed things after the program, to suggest that other people should arm up Well, of course, around here we have a policy that we won't tolerate incitement to violence. So, as a result, that person was given, I think, a pretty substantial time out. Justifiably so, I would say. So I support that. But it draws attention to something that is ongoing. Last night, we were all being tested. This tests us all. This gentleman here passed with flying colors, as far as I am concerned. This hero, he did not pull the trigger. I commented on it last night and I said, he did the right thing. Even as some people are saying he should have shot the guy, or maybe shot him in the legs, shot him in the knees, Donald Trump style. But even that would be deemed an excessive use of force under not just Australian law, but certainly Canadian law, and even in many regions of the United States, even in places like Florida. I can get into the particulars. I don't need to. It's pretty self-explanatory why. The gunman at a certain point had been disarmed. By the time the bystander had the weapon, now the gunman, the suspect, was laying on the ground, essentially defenseless. And even though there was someone who commented and said the gunman ran and picked up a weapon back over at the little mini bridge that they were using as cover, at the moment that he's laying on the ground and he's in retreat, there's not an imminent threat at that point. If the gunman had charged toward or even began to approach the bystander who took the weapon away, there would have been justification for use of force and even potentially for shooting the suspect. But that's not what the scenario was. And to just shoot the guy and kill him point blank right there on the ground, that's problematic to say the least. And that would have likely resulted, it could have easily resulted in the bystander being charged with murder and being thrown in jail. More than that, it raises, for me, I was dreaming about it, thinking about it overnight. During the pandemic, we were all tested. Tested. Government was tested. Our politicians, we were all tested. Tested in the sense, not medically tested, but psychologically, our attitudes, our humanity was tested. And the government locked us down. And if you recall, a lot of people called for even sort of concentration camps. It's true. For the unvaccinated. Human nature, I guess, when people are afraid, and they're afraid for themselves, afraid for their families, they'll endorse, support the most horrific of policies and acts. But you know, when you do something like that, you lose a piece of your humanity. And we're all diminished by that. And as horrific as the attack in Bondi Beach was, as horrific as these kinds of attacks are, and we're seeing, more of them for a variety of reasons, even if it is a global or the globalization of the intifada, it's a trap. Just as it was a trap for Israel to respond on October 7th, or to October 7th, with this full-scale invasion of Gaza, it was a trap. I said so from the beginning. And even though I support Israel's right to exist, or not even about supporting it, I'm just saying they're there. They're not going anywhere. So It's something that pragmatically we have to deal with as a world community. It was a trap to go into Gaza to do what they did because Israel suffered such reputational damage. They lost so much support, as I knew that they would, even though they're saying we have to respond with overwhelming force and wipe out this enemy. And I certainly get that they needed to take steps and not tolerate the taking of the hostages. So you see, I see both sides, which doesn't put me in a great position because we're all being pulled to one position or another, to one tribe or another, to pick sides. Who do you support? But it's a test. That's a test. The pandemic was a test. Oh, as a society, we failed miserably. At least as a society that says we value freedom. Failed miserably then. I'd say Israel failed miserably in the response to what happened in Gaza. The Palestinians, Hamas, they failed miserably with the October 7th attack on Israel itself. Shouldn't have done that. Everybody's failing because it seems no one is learning the lessons of history. Determined to repeat, reconstitute, revisit. Thus doomed to repeat, if not rhyme, with history. And here we go. The globalization of the Intifada. Everybody arm up. Oh, we saw it in the chat last night. Horrific. Words matter. The words chosen were designed to manipulate in the chat last night. Disappointed I was. This old friend in there. And I understand the emotion. I also understand the objective. Disappointed. But not the first time it's happened with our old friend. Tested she was. Failed she did, in my view. Why? Oh, I was accused as I was commenting on this very subject, not directly aimed at our old friend in the chat, who was there for access to you, to our audience, to our family, to influence us. A trap. Influence us. Appeal to us on an emotional level. Test us. While she was being tested and failing. Failing because the accusation leveled at me was that, and I don't think it was really worded in a way that it was directly leveled at me, but it was certainly directed at me because it was a response to what I was saying live on the air last night. The accusation was that there was suddenly now sympathy for the terrorist. No, that's not the point. The point is, we stand on the edge of the abyss. We are looking into this deep, dark hole, into the darkness. At that moment, that bystander was standing there on the edge of the dark hole, peering into the darkness, the all-consuming darkness. And at that moment, he was tested. What would he choose to do? A defenseless mass killer laying on the ground. What's his response? What would he do? What did he do? All he had to do was pull the trigger for instant justice. Was it his place to act as judge, jury, and executioner? He said no. He had the presence of mind to just stop. At least stop to the point where he took the weapon and he now had a way to defend himself and to buy time for other people. Even as police failed to respond in an adequate way, this hero chose not to pull the trigger because the threat wasn't imminent. And even if you look at Australian law, Canadian law, US law, the law as it is written and the decisions that have come down through courts over time reflect exactly what that scenario was yesterday. The law says if there's no imminent threat, you have to stop. Because if you don't, you've now crossed the line, and if you pull that trigger, you become the very thing that you oppose. Even as that man, that suspect, is laying on the ground after you've seen what he has done, he's still a human being. You don't know what's in his head. You don't know what motivated that person. You don't know all of the circumstances surrounding that. But it's not that you have sympathy for the terrorist. That's not why you don't pull the trigger. You don't pull the trigger because you value a stable, democratic society that abides by and honors and values the rule of law. That gives us civilization. You pull the trigger, all that goes out the window. And the only way that's restored is if police come and arrest you. Because you've taken the law into your hands. You've acted unilaterally. You go too far. And you become the very thing that you are opposing. Because the threat is not imminent at that moment. And it's not up to you to go that far. So you see, if he'd pulled that trigger, you might think that that's justice, and maybe you could argue that it is. But it's not due process. And you violate that guy's rights, and even as a suspect, he has rights because we're a civil society. But if you violate that, you're violating your own rights. You're violating everyone's rights. You're violating everyone's right to due process. You're saying, you go too far, you commit a crime, it's okay for someone just to shoot you. Regardless of the circumstances, at that point, it doesn't even matter if you're defenseless or if you're running away. The guy could have been 5 blocks over and running to the middle of the desert someplace, and you're justified in shooting him because of what he did. You can judge and you can execute. No. And it's not because you have sympathy for the terrorist. It's because, as I say, you value a stable society, you value the rule of law, and most important, you value yourself. Because if you pull the trigger, you lose a piece of yourself. You lose a piece of your humanity. And that's why I said last night, no, he did the right thing. And he had the presence of mind. He was level-headed enough to know when to stop, to show mercy. Not just for the terrorist, but even for himself. God have mercy on not just the suspect's soul, but on your own. Do you have to become a monster to fight a monster? No, not in a civil society, not in a society where we have laws, rules, that if we all follow them, it's a better society, a better place, a better country, a community where where our rights come from not the law itself, but from a higher place. Inalienable, even for all humans, not ostriches, for humans. You throw that out the window, you're hurting yourself. You're diminishing yourself. You're diminishing everything. You're diminishing it. It's a rapid descent into darkness. That's what war is. That's a complete breakdown of all rules, all rights. Where crazy people who run things say, I've had enough. It's just time to start killing people in order to get what I want. That's a complete societal breakdown where rights don't matter anymore. There's no freedom in a war. You might say you're fighting for freedom, but are you? It gets so complicated so quickly. And so last night, we were all being tested, and there was a test going on in the chat for everyone. And it's a difficult test, especially when it's emotion-based. People upset, angry over that mass shooting, justifiably so. Horrific. Fear. It might come here. Maybe it already has. What are we going to do? Got to stop it. People are enraged. And through that rage, it's easy in your mind to pull the trigger and support pulling the trigger. But even as you support pulling the trigger, you're losing a little bit of yourself. We all are. Our whole society loses a little piece of itself when another person and another person and another person, even in your mind, when you pull the trigger. It was a test in real time. I have to say, overall, I'm pretty proud to say that our family, overall, responded, I think, in a generally appropriate way. And I understand and I'm sympathetic to the people who pulled the trigger in their minds. And maybe even went further and posted things in the chat. Not that I saw all of what was in the chat, but I saw enough. I get it. But I don't want everybody to arm up. I don't want a war. I don't want to give in to just the emotions. I want to keep a level head. More than that, I want all of us, I want you to find a way to preserve your humanity in these insane times. Just don't give in to the hate. Defense, that's one thing. Vengeance, the pursuit of that will consume you and pull you down into the darkness. God help us all. Tough times.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
I'm going to come back to father-son relationships at the end of the program. Remind me, okay? I'm going to share something with you. Just thinking about it because of the Rob Reiner thing and Nick Reiner. Come back to it. And the reason I just thought of it is because last night my dad, I was upstairs watching TV with him before we went to bed. He's not going to bed. He sleeps in the recliner that we moved up there for him because of his operation. But anyway, he was commenting on all the ads he's seeing for casinos, right? Tons of ads on television, online too. I don't get a lot of them because I don't gamble stuff. Even my son commenting on how many ads he's seeing for casinos. Well, today, Doug Ford, Ontario's premier, says he wants more big, large casinos in Niagara Falls. He's going after those tourist dollars, says he wants to draw new casinos and theme parks to Niagara Falls, as he unveiled plans to revitalize the city through a plan that has been dubbed internally Vegas of the North. So this was announced earlier today alongside Niagara Falls mayor, announcing that they would be trying to attract more casinos, focusing on pulling in big, large casinos to get this thing going. And it all revolves around a plan to increase tourist attractions in the city, adding new food, wine-based experiences, leaning into culture like the Shaw Festival, arts, culture in neighboring Niagara-on-the-Lake. So big push. And I think this is all, largely being spurred by the trade war with the Trump administration, so much so that even today, Doug Ford, who is a thorn in Donald Trump's side, clearly, and vice versa, Ford referred to Trump as a tyrant in this news conference. I'm going to bring some of this to you now, where he announced this. But yeah, we have to do something to bolster the economy. Tourism, one of those things, and this is a big project.
Because, folks, Niagara has the potential to be a true tourism powerhouse and a world-class destination that drives Ontario's economy and keep tens of thousands of Ontario workers on the job. And we're doing everything we can to unlock that potential. With tariffs and economic uncertainty taking direct aim at our economy, targeting Ontario workers and businesses is more important than ever that we support new opportunities for workers and attract new jobs and investments, including in Ontario's tourism industry. Here in Niagara, the tourism sector already brings in $3 billion every single year, with more than 13 million visitors coming to Niagara from across Ontario and around the world. And Stan, you said it bang on. You go anywhere in the world, or Mayor as well, you go anywhere in the world, ask them where Toronto is. They aren't 100% sure. Ask them where Niagara Falls is. They know exactly where Niagara Falls is. Now we say it's an hour from Toronto. Give them a rough ballpark figure there. The highlight of every trip to Niagara is the falls itself, with the incredible Horseshoe Falls and iconic attractions like the Niagara City Cruises or the journey behind the falls, but the region has so much more to offer. It has incredible history and culture, world-famous restaurants and wineries, world-class gaming and casinos, and family-friendly attractions, as well as the beautiful Niagara Escarpment. With the proper support and the right vision, Niagara Falls and the entire Niagara region can be an engine for Ontario's economy and even a bigger tourist destination than it already is. And I guess that's our goal, Mayor and Stan, that, you know, the average stay, what is it, 1.7 days or something, 1.5 days? We want to make it a week long, 4 days long, and that's exactly what we're doing. And that brings us for what we're here today to announce. Today, I'm thrilled to announce our government Destination Niagara strategy, a multi-billion-dollar plan to build new world-class attractions, elevate Niagara's casino and gaming experience, meaning we want more casinos, big, large casinos, to come here, boost, and we are doing that. So all the big casinos in Niagara, I'm making a clear message to you, you're welcome to Niagara. Boost local arts and culture, and improve the region's transportation network with the ambitious goal of attracting 25 million annual visitors and generating $3 billion of additional revenue for Niagara every year. We want to double the number of visitors who come to Niagara every year, and we want to double the amount of time that they spend in Niagara, enjoying all it has to offer and supporting the local economy. Our strategy is built on 5 pillars, and I'll just run through them. First, we're going to build new must-see attractions. Imagine a theme park with rides and games and all-new Niagara River line with an electric tram running 3.8 kilometers through Queen's Victoria Park with unmatched views of Niagara Falls. We've also welcoming the revitalization of the Toronto Power Generating Station into a boutique hotel and attraction with a spa, art gallery, and a free museum. I'm happy to say work has already begun on redeveloping the station into the region's first and only 5-star boutique hotel, a project funded entirely through more than $300 million private sector investment. We're working with private investors in Niagara Parks to revitalize the marina at Miller's Creek into a quality recreation destination and working to develop an observation wheel just like those in London and Las Vegas that will overlook the falls. All these attractions will draw people from around the world, helping families and children make memories that will last a lifetime. We're also looking to grow Niagara's gaming market. One of the options being explored is the potential development of multiple new world-class casinos to provide more options for visitors, encourage the development of new hotels, entertainment venues, and restaurants, boosting the economy and helping create tens of thousands of good jobs. As Minister Cho mentioned, we're also doubling down with the support of Niagara's incredible wine, craft beverage, and culinary scene. And I just got to tell you about the wineries and the alcohol sector. It is booming. I want to thank the people of Ontario for buying Ontario wine. I think it's up 70 some odd percent, I think it was 76% or even higher. including agritourism, as well as the unique festivals, arts and cultures offerings that make Niagara so unforgettable. And of course, as we welcome the millions of new visitors that we're expecting here in Niagara, we'll invest to ensure we have the highways, the transit, the airports that are needed to help people get here quickly and conveniently. Our vision to expand the runway by 3,000 feet, Mayor, 3,000 feet, that will get all the big planes around the world in? Because if we got to go 5,000, let's do the 5,000, and we'll get everyone from all over. We're going to revitalize that airport. We're going to ask the federal government for their support as well. This is going to bring people in from all over the world, and we're going to move quick on this, allowing passenger flights arrive from around the world, bringing in even more tourism dollars and creating even more jobs. Our Destination Niagara strategy will build the region into a tourism powerhouse with incredible sites and attractions that will entertain families and support our workers. Together, we're going to build a place that welcomes families from across our province and across the world so they can experience the very best Ontario, Niagara, and Canada have to offer. Together, we're going to protect Ontario workers and businesses and build the most resilient, self-reliant, and competitive economy in the G7. I want to thank everyone for having us here today, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much.
I like Niagara Falls.
We will now
and all
take
its
questions from the
fabulous.
media. Media can line up behind me and state their name and outlet. Just a reminder, the format today is one question and one follow-up per outlet. First question.
Hi, everyone. It's Randy Rath with
Hi, Randy.
CHTV. Premier, the other day, you told us that regarding the issue of selling off the booze that was pulled off the shelves of the LCBO and donating the proceeds to charity, that you would speak to the LCBO officials about that. And I'm wondering if you've had that conversation and if you made a decision about that.
I did, but it's not as easy as it sounds. We just can't sell it off, and I'm not going to do that during Christmas holidays when it will hurt our wineries, it will hurt our distilleries, and it's just not going to happen. I want to support local jobs and opportunities here, but if we find a buyer maybe in another province, that'd be different. But folks, keep in mind, people are coming up with all these wild ideas. I've never seen people so interested in liquor. But guys, this is the LCBO's money. It's no one else's. In return, it's Ontario's money. So it's the taxpayers' money that own LCBO. And if we can get rid of it out of province somewhere, we will. But I'm not going to hurt the wineries here or the distilleries or anyone else. So go out there. Buy Ontario booze, no matter if it's wine, whiskey, vodka, whatever is made here, and support the local industry.
Okay, thanks for that. Also, people in these parts, they used to go across the border constantly. People go over, have some wings, they go over, get a couple of groceries. Canadians are no longer flying to Florida. They're not being, their snowbirds have basically, it's dried up. There's been an organic boycott of tourism into America. Do you support that? And are you going to go to Florida this year?
Yeah, so let me tell you, it's going to be the first time I'm not going to Florida. But I talk to so many people. Don't let this guy, Trump, determine and ruin your life and everything. That's my personal choice. Maybe some families have gone to Florida their whole lives. Go to Florida. That's great. But I encourage you to stay here and support local tourism. But you can't let the one tyrant change your lives, right? You just can't let it happen. I'm doing it out of my own personal choice because I just can't do it. But don't let this guy change your lives. If you go down and you see, maybe their grandparents are down there, maybe they're somewhere else. So we'll get through this. But they're hurting down there right now. They're hurting on all fronts. They're hurting on their economy. President Trump is at the lowest rating that any president has been in the first year, and God knows probably 100 years. So it's taking effect. And I always say, we love our American friends, and the Americans love Canadians. And there's just one guy I just don't see eye to eye with this, President Trump. So we'll keep fighting, and I'll never apologize to that guy ever.
He called him a tyrant. I wonder how much the tariffs are going to increase tomorrow. Oh man, Thanks, Doug. I don't blame him. It's ridiculous. It really is. Now, Pierre Poilievre, he's got his own political problems. In this, I guess it was like a year-end interview that he provided with the media. And I'll show you these headlines. What I think maybe Pierre has been listening to this program, and he said, you know what? Rick Walker is right. Mark Carney is acting like a conservative. I told you so. Here. Except Poilievre is saying that he's not a genuine conservative. He's a counterfeit conservative. And this is what I've been saying all along. I said, Carney has been taking the wind out of the conservatives' sail, out of Pierre Poilievre's sails, by being more conservative than Poilievre. Poilievre says, axe the tax. He even stands up in the House of Commons and says, now I encourage you. He's said this many, many times. He said, steal my ideas. You can steal my ideas. I want you to. And that's exactly what Carney has done. He axed the tax during the election. Now, what do you have for a platform, Pierre? He didn't have one. He stole the thunder of Pierre Poilievre. He's talking about Poilievre and the conservatives like, you got to build a pipeline. So he comes through with this MOU and this whole plan to get a pipeline built. And the conservatives are like, he can't do that. Yeah, it's politics, and the conservatives are being outmaneuvered. So what's Poilievre saying about it in this year-end interview? He says, while Carney likes to copy his ideas, ending the consumer carbon price, for example, his government won't do what it says it will. This is off the CTV site. Carney is widely seen to be moving the Liberals to the political center after years of more center-left policies under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I told you so. Stephen Guilbeault, he is pretty far left, extremely far left, who was Trudeau's environment minister, recently quit Carney's cabinet over what he calls the dismantling of climate policies he helped to introduce. I've seen Liberals complaining that the MOU and the position that he's taken on this pipeline with Danielle Smith, this whole thing could have been developed by Stephen Harper, not Mark Carney. I told you so. Rick's a liberal. No, I'm just telling you that Carney is acting more conservative than Pierre Poilievre. Even his housing plan, if you read it in detail, fiscally, it's more conservative than Poilievre's. It's more market driven. It's using the tools of free market economics with government stimulus behind it and incentives through loans to first-time home buyers, et cetera, in order to drive the market. He knows what he's doing. He's an economist. He's a capitalist. Carney's a capitalist. He understands how these things work. I've just been telling you. That's why Harper wanted him as his finance minister. A lot of people don't know that. In a year-end interview with the Canadian Press, Poilievre says the challenge for his party is to show the Liberals aren't actually following through on what they promise. Carney did not make himself available for a year-end interview. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you. You just don't want to hear it. But what you do want to hear is China, 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 China. So there are a lot of people who are trying to make this into because of the floor crossings that we've seen, including Michael Ma most recently putting the Liberals within one seat of a majority government. It's all China. It's China's fault. It's Chinese infiltration. Oh, for crying out loud. Just maybe stretching a bit, but, it'll sell. All you have to do is just keep repeating something over and over enough, and, the low information voters out there will buy into it, I guess. So here's Daniel Boardman posting. I don't even know who Daniel Boardman is. I guess he's a rising social media influencer. I don't know. Can't really judge him. I don't really know much about him, but he says here in this post, I'm in Markham, Unionville, just a few kilometers away from a Chinese police station outside of Michael Ma's office, where his constituents are protesting his complete disrespect for democracy and his potential link to the CCP. After the controversial MP flipped to the Liberals, Canada is one more foreign interference away from a Carney majority until 2029. I understand the concerns about Chinese influence on our politics and our society and our laws, blah, blah, blah. There's real concern there, legitimate concerns. But in this particular case, I think that Carney's just kicking some conservative butt, and I think Poilievre has misjudged the Overton window, even within his own party and his own caucus. He's misread the room. Because at the end of the day, people love a lot of people are not separatists and they love Canada and they do want to stand up to Donald Trump. But here we are with the Chinese whatever narrative.
All right, we're in Markham, Unionville, just a few kilometers away from Canada's favorite Chinese police station, home of Michael Ma. So here we have the Rebel News truck and Dave Menzies. So Michael Ma is the MP who switched sides. Now, this is a result of not letting the Canadian people decide democracy because he was just appointed the head of this union, just given the riding. Maybe there's some shady dealings going on, maybe there wasn't. So we have people outside in the snow. They're protesting here in Markham, Unionville. They felt like they voted Conservative, but now we might get a Liberal majority government, not off votes, but off of corruption from Michael Ma, who is no longer Conservative. People are saying their votes are not for sale. That is fake news. This is Canada. Of course your votes are for sale. And they say Michael Ma is not respecting his voters. Now,
Wait a minute. Aren't people always out there complaining that MPs are not free to vote with their conscience or just vote to represent, the interests of their constituents within their riding, that they're all controlled by the party, and that they're not free to do to vote the way they want, vote with their conscience, vote with their minds, that they have to toe the party line, just bend the knee to the party whip? I thought, wasn't there, I'm always hearing people say that. And now they're saying, if you think about it, this is the opposite argument. It's like, wait a minute, you were voted as a conservative. You're supposed to vote the conservative line. You're supposed to bend the knee to the whip. You're supposed to do whatever Poilievre tells you. You're not allowed to cross the floor, even if the party is maybe drifting away from what you think are conservative ideals, or maybe drifting away from what is in the best interests of the country and your view. You're not free to cross the floor, even if the other party is shifting its political stance and its platform to come further closer to what your political ideology and what you think is in the best interests of your constituents. In the House of Commons, MPs are actually free to vote any way they want. It's just that if you're part of the Conservatives or you're part of the Liberal Party or the NDP or any party, if you vote against the party line, you'll be ejected potentially. Not just from the caucus, if you're a caucus member, but from the party itself. And then you have the option, you can either resign or you can sit as an independent. And I thought we on the conservative side, a lot of people are like, I keep hearing, they're all controlled. They don't get to vote the way they want. We need to get rid of the party system. If you get rid of the party system, then people are just going to vote one way or the other, vote for whatever they want. And that's kind of what's going on here with crossing the floor to join the other party. I'm just saying there's a degree of hypocrisy here and inconsistency. The floor crossings have been part of the parliamentary system since the beginning of the parliamentary system. And if you know how to use the system and you know how to play politics better than the other guy, I guess you can kind of raid the other party, especially if you can appeal to them on some level. Now, you think that that's corruption. You think that there's money involved. Okay. Show me the proof. And if it's just money, then yeah, I'm all in. If it's floor crossing because an MP is doing it for conscientious reasons, as a conscientious objector, or because the party, you might say, left them, I don't know. It is what it is, man. That's politics. And somebody's upset. Pierre Poilievre, what are you going to do? He's in political trouble. And, just like Trump, China, China, China. The virus was all China's fault. It's the China virus. It's China. Everything gets blamed on China. China can be a problem. China's, a trading partner, but also a potential security threat, an adversary in many respects. But, put blame where blame is really due. Honestly, my sense is that all this Chinese interference because of the floor crossing and Michael Ma, it's a bit of a stretch. But they're looking for something, and Poilievre is looking for some sort of a lifeline as he struggles to hold on to the leadership. And the party itself gave him a lifeline, after the election, when he lost his own riding. And you can say, well, that's shenanigans. That wasn't fair because they had so many people on the ballot, the long ballot, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know. Well, there you go again. Got outmaneuvered. Should have seen it coming. And you need to find a way to counteract that. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know how you limit it. It's something that certainly deserves review. Does it make a mockery of the system? I'm reserving judgment. You can judge more from this clip here as a preview to what's coming up this weekend in the CTV interview for their Sunday News Magazine program. This is just a preview clip of what is to come.
If you do ultimately lose another MP and the Liberals form a majority, will you stay on as leader?
That'll be up to the members of our party, because our party is not run by backroom deals in Ottawa, but by the welders and waitresses, soldiers and police officers, small business people who actually join the party and come to our convention. I am fighting for them. I'm fighting for them every day and in every way, and they will decide in the convention if they want me to stay on.
But you'll be at that convention no matter what?
Yes.
If you do.
So there you are. Just the fact that that question is being asked shows that Poilievre is in a bit of trouble. That being said, this is just my personal opinion. I think he's a very strong leader. I think that he's very quick-witted. He's confident. He does have leadership qualities. He's been an effective leader. I just think that to some degree he's getting some bad advice. That's just my observation, my assessment from, my little perch over here on the outside of the party. But we'll see what comes. Politics is a blood sport, and right now, even the Conservatives sense some blood in the water. And so power-hungry Conservatives are now circling around Pierre Poilievre. We'll see if he survives. My sense is he probably will. But they want to win. I'm not sure what the path is forward for them from this point, because Carney has claimed a lot of that middle ground, and he's pulled a lot of the voters in the middle and some of that conservative base away, because Canadians do love their country. And that really is at the core of it all, the center of it all. Canada. We'll come back and I'll share my thoughts for this story about father-son relationships. Don't go away. I shall return.
Had nobody.
Oops, wrong clip.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
I have to admit, I don't really have all of my thoughts gathered with regard to this. They were more organized when I said I was going to talk about this. I think I've forgotten some of what I wanted to say with regard to this, but I will share this story. And I'll tell you where I'm going at the end of the broadcast tonight, back where I was last night. You know, and this is because of the Rob Reiner, Nick Reiner story. And I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone. This is a personal thing. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I'll tell you. When I was, I guess maybe too, because I'm sitting in this room right now, and what I'm going to share with you happened right here, the other end of this room. Television is over there. So how old would I be? Oh, 8 or 9 years old. Somewhere in that range. So my grandfather on my dad's side came here, and he was staying with us for a while. He was sitting in the chair over there. It was a weekday afternoon, and I'd come home from school, and I was sitting in the chair next to him. And he was watching a baseball game. He loved baseball. He loved the Flintstones too. But he loved baseball. And he would just sit all day. And I don't know why they had baseball games on, but there was a baseball game on. And I don't know what, maybe it was a series. I don't know. But he was watching baseball. But it was the afternoon, and I was just a kid. And I was sitting there watching it with him. And he could tell there was something bothering me. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, it's Monster Week." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, because on Channel 7, WXYZ out of Detroit, which we got here back in those days, still do. I said, it's Monster Week, and they run all the monster movies, like Gamera and Godzilla. It's like every day they run another monster movie. And I was so looking forward to watching one of these movies every day in the afternoon when I got home from school. And he said to me, "Well, that's okay. We don't have to watch baseball. We'll watch the monster movie." So we put the stupid, and remember we ran that one Godzilla movie on Maverick Midnight Matinee. I was thinking about that back then at that time too. So he did that for me. And he put the stupid monster movie on, and we sat there and watched that. But it's funny, these things stick with you all through your life, these memories. And I'm sure that he probably didn't mind that much, because he probably, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my grandfather because he lived so far away. So I never got to know him that well at all. But there he was, and he's like, "Oh, well, we can watch a monster movie." So he put it on. But I always regretted it, because, it wasn't long after that he passed away. And I always felt, so guilty. It still sticks with me. Guilt. Because I sat there and I was just obviously distraught because I couldn't watch the monster movie. And so that day, instead of watching baseball, we watched I don't even remember what movie it was. It was, I think, a Gamera, the flying turtle. Entirely appropriate, given that we had the, Turtle Island Liberation Front story earlier. In fact, I saw a meme online with Gamera, the monster turtle, doing the doing gymnastics, and with the reference to that investigation. Anyway, still felt guilty. I still feel guilty to this day. I don't know if that's normal, but that's how I feel. I just felt awful. I thought I always said I should have just let him watch baseball, and I should have watched it with him for the memory, for the memory. But when you're the adult, you do the right thing and you sacrifice for the kid. And he did. I was so lucky. Damn, I was lucky. My dad, he's upstairs. And was another thing that I'll share this with you, if anybody cares. It wasn't long after that, maybe a couple of years. That'd be about 10, 12. I was in what grade was I in? 7, no. 6th grade, I don't know, grade 6 or whatever. And my dad was he's going fishing up north, way up north, at my uncle's log cabin. We'd been up there previously, and I hated the place because it was so far north. We went up there one summer, and my uncle bought this little piece of land in the middle of freaking nowhere and among these lakes. So far north in Ontario. And the only way to get to it was by boat. You had to get on a boat, and there were no roads. And we went up there, and we spent a week, 2 weeks, a week, anyway, building a log cabin, like mostly with hand tools, because there was no power. There was no electricity. There was gasoline for chainsaws and things, but it was mostly handwork. And we were chopping down trees to make a log cabin in the middle of the bush, like an elaborate log cabin. Some lumber we floated in. What an experience that was. We had to strip the bark off the logs as kids. My cousins and myself, we're all up there, and all in my family, and I'm up there. My mom, she went too, and I don't think she was happy. We were living in tents and black flies, and I hated it, to be quite honest. It was grueling work, especially for a kid. Anyway, we built this stupid log cabin. So a couple years later, it's all built, and my dad decides we're going to go fishing. And what a Canadian thing. What a Canadian thing. So I was in school, and my mom called the principal and said, I want my husband wants to take my son on a fishing trip. And it was near the end of the year. And this stuck with me too. And this is what our society needs to get back to, because these are the things that I think make for stronger families, stronger societies, stronger communities. My mom said he'll be gone for like an entire week off school. To go fishing with his dad. And the principal told my mom, he said, that's okay. He should go fishing with his dad. So we did. We went up there. My uncle went. And what an experience that was. That was better because the cabin was finished. And it was a pretty cool cabin. More like a cottage, a small one, in the middle of nowhere. And the lake was pristine. The water was clear. You could, I mean, you shouldn't do it, but you could drink the water right out of the lake. It was that clean. And we went fishing. And it still sticks with me today. Guilt, because I didn't let my grandfather watch baseball. But joy, because when I went fishing with my dad, I caught, we were catching pickerel. And my dad, he caught one that was like about this big. And my uncle caught one that was like about this big. And then my dad caught another one like this. And then I started catching some. And it's like magic when you're a kid, you know. I think we still got pictures around here somewhere, but I caught this pickerel. My God. Like this. And I am not kidding. Like, this is not a fishtail, okay? It's a real fish story. This huge, ancient, prehistoric thing that had been growing for like, I don't know how many freaking centuries, because it was massive. And it came up like a log from the bottom of this lake that I hooked into. And I hauled that thing up onto the boat. And it dwarfed all these other pickerel. And when we got back to the cabin, we laid them all out on the floor. And you could see how big they were because we had it was like 1x6s on the floor planks. So you could see how big the damn thing was. It was feet long. It was like this gigantic dinosaur monster pickerel. Biggest frickin' pickerel I ever seen. It had to be a frickin' record. That thing was massive. And it's not just my imagination. It's not just because I was a kid that it seemed bigger. It was huge. It made the other ones look like minnows. And they were keepers. What an experience. Thank you, Dad. So for the past few nights, as I finish this program, what have I been doing? I go upstairs. Because my dad's still recovering from his operation, as you all know. And you know what he likes to do? He likes to watch hockey. And he used to take me to hockey practice. So I leave here and I go up there and after I walk Cosmo. And we've been watching hockey, just like we did when I was a kid. And you know what I don't do? I don't ask him to change the channel to a monster movie. Man, some of these games that we've been watching, really good. I am Canadian. This is my dad's shirt. It's time. Time to walk Cosmo. Time to head upstairs. Watch a little hockey with my dad. What are we going to leave you with tonight? Some positivity, maybe? We'll forego the Christmas tune tonight. Because as cold as it is outside, I'm feeling pretty warm right now in my heart. I hope you do. I hope you feel that warmth too. So let's just let a little sunshine in. And I'll see you back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side. Love you guys.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.